Hello everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar on performance improvement for Communication Cloud. My name is Nida Iqbal, and I have been a Salesforce developer at Nespon Solutions for the last 3 years. Nespon Solutions, established in 2008, is a proud Salesforce Summit partner representing the highest level of expertise achievements within the Salesforce ecosystem. With a team of over 600 certified professionals and more than 350 consultants, we are highly skilled in delivering both B2B and B2C Salesforce implementation solutions. Our headquarters is in Texas, USA, and deliver exceptional services globally through our 9 centers of excellence. Today's webinar will focus on the essential techniques and adjustment to enhance your communications cloud setup. Taqir Khan, a senior technical architect, and I will talk about the effective strategies to optimize performance within the communication cloud. We are going to open the floor for Q&A, but we will address all the questions at the end of the session. Now let's get started and explore the best ways to enhance communication cloud and performance. So let's begin by discussing Salesforce Industry Cloud API and their importance to the telecom industry. These APIs have been developed to simplify and automate key business operations such as order management, product tracking, and customer account management. The journey of these APIs began with introducing the Classic Cart API. It served as the backbone for product configuration and order management. But with growing industry demands, it began showing limitations. It lacked the speed and flexibility to handle complex product structures and high volume transactions efficiently. As customer expectations arise, telecom companies need a more responsive and adaptive system to meet their operational goals, highlighting the need for an optimized system. So here we are going to focus on the main challenges we faced with the older Classic Cart API. First, high latency was a big issue since it relied on the real-time calculation that couldn't keep up with the fast-paced demand of telecom operations. It often slowed down the process, leading to a frustrating user experience. The architecture often led to slowdowns, mainly because it relied on multiple backend systems, which reduced its efficiency. So here we have some challenges. The first challenge, which is related to the API performance. During peak hours, the Classic API would hit the limits on parallel requests, which not only caused delays, but also restricted the growth. The high latency in response time led to ambiguous data responses, creating inconsistencies when data was being processed. Another key issue was a data retrieval. When multiple requests ran simultaneously in the background, data fetching became inefficient and caused delays. Now moving to the limitations in concurrent request. The Cart API also kept the number of requests allowed per transactions, limiting its ability to handle multiple requests at once. On the other hand, we have a Standard Cart API now enables us to process many requests in single parallel. Finally, the Cache Cart API didn't effective cache management, making it hard to scale efficiently as demand increases. So here we are going to focus on how Salesforce tackled the challenges of Standard Cart API in summer 23 release. This new API was explicitly designed to address the limitations of Classic API, offering more responsive and flexible solution for telecom companies. As part of the Winter 24 update, Salesforce enhanced the API further by introducing new functions and the feature. Process automation has been improved. The API provides more modular function, allowing actions like adding, removing, updating cart items, running pricing, and checking cart status in a straightforward way. With that, I will turn it over to you, Taqir, to guide us through the next segment.
Everyone, thanks Nida for sharing the high-level information about Industry Cloud API. Now, let's discuss some facts related to the test result of the Standard Cart API shared by the Salesforce. The card comparison shows how the new API handled complex data structures more effectively than the previous version. A key highlight from the result is the ability to manage 650 line items in a single cart. In the existing card API, there was a limitation of 80 to 90 line items per card. Having worked with B2B customers, we understand that they typically expect to include a large number of line items within a single cart. When they exceed 90 line items, they are often required to create multiple orders, which can be time consuming. However, the Standard Cart API offers a significant improvement, increasing the limit to 650 line items per cart. This demonstrates that the Standard Cart API is well equipped to handle high volume transactions effectively. In summary, it allows customers to create a single cart even they have more than 90 line items. They don't need to create multiple orders for the same customer and saving time in the order processing. Now we can focus on another important feature of a Standard Cart API, which is performance improvement. In the diagram, the top section represents add to cart process, while the lower section relate to the update cart process. Both diagram display graph comparison between the old API and the new API version. As we can see in the graph diagram, the old API take 6.5 seconds to process. So the response time of the old API is comparatively greater than the current API for each transaction, which is also responsible for the batch response. Wherever the new API perform the same operation in 1.62 seconds, demonstrating a much faster response time. One of the most notable outcome is 60 to 80% improvement in response time for critical operations like add to cart and update to cart. Additionally, the test result indicate that after the implementation of a Standard Cart API, system can handle approximately 90K to 120K transactions with 500 concurrent users per hour. However, with the Classic Cart API, delay occur when reaching out 500 concurrent users. This level of performance ensures that the Standard Cart API can handle heavy workload without compromising speed. The comparison with the Classic Cart API highlight that the new API much better than and used for the fast-paced environment for the modern telecom customers. The other key feature is enhancement in attribute limit. This highlights the Standard Cart API can handle large number of attributes effectively. So normally we have worked with different B2B customers. So we already aware like they have bundle of product they are using. So for the different bundle of product, they require multiple attributes. But in the previous version, we have a limit like we can use only 1,000 attributes per card. But now the Salesforce has increased this limit to 2,000 attributes for a 40-line item bundle. So we can take the example like normally telecom provide often handle complex product that require multiple configure attribute such as plan, speed, and pricing tiers, which are essential for meeting customer needs. For example, an internet package may include a specific option such as 500 MB to 1 GB along with different connections type like copper or fiber. Supporting all these configurations required handling a large number of attributes to accommodate the wide range of product variations and customer preferences. So the Standard Cart API support up to 2,000 attributes for a 40-line item bundle product, a notable enhancement compared to the 1,000 attribute limit in the previous version. This increase smoothly boosts the system capacity to manage more complex product configuration. So now we have another feature. We can focus on another important standard API feature, which is response time improvement. This response time improvement table shows a performance comparison between the classic and standard cart API to fetch the data from different decision metrics containing different data volumes ranging from 5K to 1 million ROS. During add to cart process, decision metric can dynamically calculate prices, discounts, or other attribute based on the selected product options. When a user add a product to the cart, the API check the decision metrics. If the decision metric object contains 5K ROS, the classic API takes 1.39 seconds to retrieve the prices, whereas the standard cart API reduce this to 1.15 seconds. Similarly, as shown in the last row of the table, when the decision matrix contain 1 million record, the classic API take 3.1 seconds, while the standard cut API improve retrieval time to 1.61 seconds, resulting a significant performance improvement of around 46%, reducing the retrieval time by nearly half. The standard cut API demonstrate a reduction in basket creation time as the row size increase, indicating better scalability. So we have another feature, that is escalation mechanism. So let's move toward this escalation mechanism, a key feature of the standard cart API, which is missing in the classic cart API. So normally, if we talk about the classic cart API, so this feature was missing. But with the standard cart API, Salesforce has introduced this feature, and it speed up access to product configuration and bundle data by preloading compiled data into cache. This includes product hierarchies and configurations, which reduce processing time for complex orders. The architect outline a Salesforce CPQ and cart-based solutions, where product catalog are managed using cache and batch jobs, which request routed through the standard API. This ensures seamless Salesforce integration for more efficient order processing. This standard API cache mechanism is playing a more important role in the performance improvement. Now, we are providing you a live demonstration using the Postman API tool to execute both classic and standard cart API. In this demonstration, we will run three main API: create cart, create atom, and submit order, to showcase the differences in the execution time. Okay, so let's wait. I just need to connect my headset with the cable. So in this scenario, first of all, we're gonna use the classic cart API. So with the help of the classic cart API, we can show you like how much time the classic cart API taking to create an order. So we hit the request to create an order. So as we can see, like it took 4.16 seconds to create an order with the help of classic cart API. Now we can validate with the Salesforce. We copy the Salesforce ID and paste it in the URL. So we can validate like the order has been successfully created with the order number 2235 and the order name, and the other parameters those we provided also validated or reflected on the order. So this is the example of the classic cart order creation. Now we can execute the same request with the help of standard cart API. So we are providing the required parameters like order name, account ID. So this all are parameters we are providing, and will hit the request. Now it will generate the order, but with the help of the standard cart API. So as you can see, like it took like 1.73 seconds to create an order. So we can again validate the information. So the order number has been generated. So as you can see, like earlier, the classic cart API take the 4.5 seconds, and the standard cart take like 1.73 seconds. So it's a huge difference. Like the efficiency is more than 50%. And we can validate the order. The order has been generated, and all the information is reflected on the Salesforce end. Now we will be using the second scenario, which is add product to the order. So again, we will use the Postman. We will go back to the Postman and add the classic cart API to add the order item to the order. So one thing we need to keep in mind, like this classic cart API only allow us to add a single item in this transaction. So we are adding just single item and hit the send button. So for the single item, we can see it took like 4.9 seconds. And again, we will go back to the Salesforce and validate like the product has been reflected or not. So now we can see like the product has been reflected successfully. And again, go back to the postman because we need to validate or compare the add to cart atom with the standard cart API. So these are the methods that is providing for the standard cart API to add the atom to the order. So this is the URL, we have the postcard atom, and we have the IDs. So, but the main and the big feature of this standard cart API is like it's allow us to add multiple product. So first of all, we will copy the order ID against which we need to add all this product. So we will add the order ID. Now we have option to add multiple product items here. So we're gonna show you from the Salesforce like what are the products we're gonna add to this API. So we will execute the query to fetch all the product those we're gonna add. So as you can see, like we have more than 15 product, which include some bundle product and standalone product. So it include some packages as well. So all the 15 products we have added in this request, and this standard cart API allow us to create order line item in a single transactions. Like we have more than 15 line items we have added with the help of this standard cart API in a single transaction. So as you can see, like it took 6 seconds to generate or to add all the items to the order. So again, we will validate all the informations, go back to the Salesforce and update the order. So we'll be able to see all the product those we added from the standard cart API has been reflected here in a single transaction. So it's a huge difference because we have already validated like the single the classic cart API take like 4.9 seconds for single atom. So if we multiply 4.9 with 15 products, so it will be like 73.5 seconds. So it's a like very big difference between the transaction time. It improve our capacity to add all the multiple product in a single transaction. So now the next method is to submit the order. So again, first we executing the classic cart API to submit the order. You're providing the classic cart order ID and hit the submit button. So order has been submitted with the help of classic cart API. So it take like 7.2 seconds for the single product. Again, we will go back to the system. And as you can see, like the organization plan was earlier not generated, but once we refresh the page, so we'll be able to see like the status has been activated and the organization plan has been generated for the classic cart API. Now we can show you the standard card order, which is like empty at this point, like it doesn't have the organization plan generated, and the status is also draft. So all the informations we are showing before submit this order. So we also need to keep in mind in this standard card order, we have like 15 products, more than 15 products available. So now we will go back to the postman. So we will using the standard card API checkout method and also using the end URL. And the next step is to add the correct ID of the order. So we will go back to the Salesforce and copy the ID and paste it in the body first. And in the second step, we will adding to the end URL. So again, we hit the submit button. So now this order will be submitted for the 15 different products. So for the 15 product, the order has been submitted and it took only 10.4 seconds. So again, like the classic cart API took 7.2 seconds for single atom, but it take like 10.4 seconds for the 15 product. Now we can validate, show you like the order has submitted successfully. Like the organization plan generated earlier, it was empty. So we hit the submit button. So we land on the organization plan. We can see like multiple organization atom has been generated. So we also need to consider like once we submit the order, so this process will be responsible to send this data to different third-party systems. So once this plan has been submitted, now these items are responsible to send it to the billing systems or to the provisioning systems as well. So like this is a demo we have concluded from the backend side. So we have also created a demo from the user interface. So we have enabled the standard card functionality in one of our org. So there are a couple of prerequisites, those we already configure in one of our org. So as you can see, like earlier we have configured all the prerequisites that is required to enable the standard card API in our org. So in this org, the standard card API has been enabled, and now we can show you once we enable the standard card API how user interface will work with high performance speed. So we can show you like from the opportunity we're gonna create and code. So as you can see, like we are adding multiple product to the cart, and we need to keep in mind once we click on this button, so it's going to decision metric object to retrieve the prices and other parameter. So you can see like without any delay, it retrieving the values and updating the cart. So we have added multiple product with limited time seconds. So now multiple items has been added. We hit the create code button. So it will generate the code. Now we can validate like whatever the product we have added in the previous step, all are included in this cart. Now we have the options like added functionality. So we can add other item as well to validate the added functionality is also working. So now we hit the create order button. So within milliseconds, it will generate the order. While if you are using the classic cart API, so it takes like couple of seconds or sometime it goes to minutes. So as you can see, like the order has been generated with the added product, and the product is like more than 5. Now we are going to submit this order. So the order will be submitted and without any delay, and it's also generated the order number. So as you can see, like the whole process has been completed like within 1.5 minutes. Normally, while we are using the classic cart API, so it takes like more than 10 to 15 minutes to complete this journey. So the demonstration has been completed. Now Nespon is proud to offer performance improvement services designed to optimize your operations and enhance efficiently. Our approach includes steps to ensure smooth transitions, leveraging Salesforce Standard API to boost platform performance and maximize your business outcomes. So we are offering different packages like starter and advanced with different features as we can see on the screen. For more detail and information about our services, please scan our QR code or visit our website. Thank you.
Thank you, Takir, for the insightful session. Now let's move on to the Q&A.
Sure.
So here we have our first question. Are there any new APIs endpoint offered in the standard cart API which are not offered in the classic cart API?
Yeah, like there are some new API endpoints with new functionality, but most of the existing points were improved to retain the functionality. So the new APIs like which include multi-added cart items, replace offers, and delete discounts. So these are the 3 APIs, those they included, while they have improved the earlier API and URLs and the functionalities.
Okay, so the next question we have, how does the standard cart API improve the performance of the order management process in Salesforce?
Yeah, like we have already explained a couple of different scenarios like the attribute enhancement and the response time. So the standard cart API boosts performance by simplifying how it's handled data in a cart. It uses faster process for large transactions, which make loading quicker and the experience smoother for user. It also has the better error handling, so the problem can be found and fixed more easily. The standard cart API can handle more transactions than the cart API. With a standard cart, we have a limit of 650 line items. So earlier we have a limit of like 90 line items. So due to which normally users need to create multiple orders for the customer. So now we have the limit of 650 line items, so user can create a single order with more product.
Okay, so the next question we have, what are the potential impacts of implementing the Standard Cart API on existing org setup?
So there are a couple of points or scenarios we need to consider. First of all, we need to review the existing functionality, if the customer is using the out of the box functionality of the order creation, or they are using the customized solution. So implementing the Standard Cart API impact by improving the processing time and managing order more effectively. The API stream data handling allows sales representative to create and modify code and order more efficiently, reducing manual input error and time spent per transaction. So these are the main positive points, those we can consider at this point.
Okay, the next question is, what performance improvement does the Standard Cart API provide for transaction rates and response times?
The Standard Cart API show a 60 to 80% improvement in response time for action like adding or updating cart items. It can handle up to 90K to 120K transactions per hour with 500 concurrent users, making it a high performing solution for telecom needs. So normally earlier it's a blocker, let's say if we have a peak hours and if we are using if the customer using 500 concurrent users on the same time, so it delay occurs and it causing some issues. So now that issues has been fixed using the Standard Cart API.
The next question we have, what best practices would you recommend optimizing the performance of the Standard Cart API in a high traffic production environment?
So we need to consider different points to make the Standard Cart API work better in busy environment. First of all, use of caching, store frequently used data like product info and prices to avoid repeated API call. The second one, reduce API call. Combine actions into fewer call to minimize requests. Let's say you have multiple calls, so you need to combine all of them in a single transaction to avoid multiple calls. The third one is using bulk operations. For big transactions, process items in bulk instead of one by one each server load. So in this way, you will reduce your server load and the response time will be increased.
Okay, so what are the prerequisites for implementing Standard Cart API on an existing system and how they are implemented?
So basically, as I mentioned, and we have added in our package, there are a couple of prerequisites, if we need to implement this on some existing system, so we need to understand or analyze the system of the customer, like the architect, and if they are using some customized solution for create card, create order. So first of all, we need to review their architect and need to check their health check. And after that, we will be enable this on staging environment. So once we enable this Standard Cart API, so it will be enabled for different API like create card, create order. So we need to make sure we will enable this in the, some staging environment. And there are a couple of required jobs to execute before executing this or enable this Standard Cart API. So we will first of all execute all of the jobs that are required to enable this Standard Cart API, and after that we will make sure it will not affect any existing operations of the customers.
Okay, so the last question we have, what considerations should be made when migrating from the Classic Cart API to the Standard Cart API?
So if we take the consideration about the migration, so we need to make sure the system, first of all, we should not enable this into the live environment. We need to make sure the health check of the systems, where they are referencing this Classic Cart API. So once we highlight and list down all the end URL where they are calling, so after that we will enable different functions of the Standard Cart API in staging environment, and we will validate with the business users, and once they are okay with them, so then we can move to the step-by-step into production environment.
Okay, so we don't have any other questions. So that's it for today. We hope this session provided valuable insights. For more information, please visit nespon.com website, and thank you for joining.